This lesson is going to provide a quick example and overview how you can use try, catch, finally, and throw within your JavaScript code to help you debug and catch any errors that might be occurring. So we're going to be selecting and running, and depending on what the value of x is, we may throw an error, and if the value of x is greater than 5, and if that's true, then we're just going to run the code within this condition where we've got the works okay. The finally is outputting a complete. When we initiate the function, we're outputting ready. And then lastly, the last part of the function, we're outputting into the console the word done. So that's going to be covered in this lesson. This example, we're going to be exploring try and catch with JavaScript. So let's link to a JavaScript file. I'll create a brand new JavaScript file in the same directory and save it. And save it as app14.js. And then within the script tag, we're going to link to it as a source. And that was app14.js that we're linking to. So that will bring the JavaScript code into our HTML file. So we want to use try and catch. So let's create some sample code within the web page. I'm going to make the output element clickable. So let's select that element. And then using the document query selector, let's select the element with a class of output. And then we'll add an event listener to output. So add an event listener, and the event that we're going to be listening for is going to be the click event. And then this click event is going to do the test function. So running the test function, I'll just call it test fun. And now we need to create that function. So creating the function, and call it test fun. And within the console for now, we'll just output the word ready and just make sure that everything is working. So when we click that, opening up the dev tools under the console, and we see we do get ready there. So that's working. So we're ready to do a try and a catch. So let's, within this function, we'll do try. And the block of code that we want to try. So if we don't throw any errors, then this code will execute. So we'll try to run a function called fun, which actually doesn't exist. And then we'll catch if any of the errors happen. And within the console log, we can output the error value. And then the catch is going to capture any of the errors within the callback and we're going to capture it within the argument of error. So let's try it. And it looks like we were able to throw that within the catch. And we see that fun is not defined. And we are able to catch the error. So the nice thing about it is that if we were to run fun by itself, try to invoke it, we're going to get this type of error and it's going to stop the code from executing. Whereas if we use the try and catch, we can execute the next line of code. So this stops the code. We don't see the word done being output into the console. And if we comment out that and we use try and catch, we're able to capture any kind of errors that might happen and continue executing the JavaScript code. And there's also another statement that we can run, and that's going to be the finally statement. So this is what runs once the try statement completes, and the statement executes regardless of whether the exception was thrown or caught. So let's add that in. We'll do this console log, and we'll just type in complete and log that into the console. So when we click it, we run through and we try to run. We get the ready message in the console, so that worked. We try to run fun, and try doesn't work out. So then we catch that error. We get the exception being returned back as a variable called error, and that we're able to output into the console. And then lastly, we run the finally. So whether we throw an error or not, finally will always run, and this will run after the execution of the code. So that's where we get complete being added into the console. And then lastly, where the code continues to run, and that's where we get the word done being output into the console. So this is a great way that you can use in order to debug and catch any errors that might be occurring within your application. You can also, within Try, you can customize. So we can also set to throw an error, and throwing an error, and I'll just throw an error not working. So when we make the click, now instead of having the error within the catch as error, we're able to throw a not working error. And so throws are good if we've got a condition that we are going to be picking up. So let's set a value of x to equal 10 and check to see a condition. If x is greater than 5, then we're going to just output within the console, and I'll output works okay. And whereas else, we can throw an error, and that error will just be that the error is going to be x is too small. So what do you think the output in the console is going to be this time, as we've added in the way to throw the error? So we see that because x is greater than 10, x is 10, which is greater than 5, we get the word works okay. Let's update x to be 1 and see what gets thrown in the console. So we get a value of x is too small, so we're able to throw the error and then catch it and output the error message, which is this string value, and output that into the console. And then we always get the finally being run and completed. And also within the console, we're moving on to the next part of the code where we're executing the remaining code within the function.